First Contact Deception. The Valyrian diplomatic vessel Eternal Harmony glided through space with the effortless grace that characterized all ships of the Valyrian Alliance. Its crystalline hull shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, a testament to the 5,000 years of technological evolution that had made the Valyrians one of the dominant species in the known galaxy. On the command deck, High Ambassador Zinfar watched the approaching human ship with a mixture of curiosity and barely concealed condescension. Primitive propulsion systems, noted Science Officer Velnera, her translucent fingers dancing across the sensor interface. Chemical thrusters supplemented by what appears to be early fusion technology. Their vessel's hull is comprised of manufactured alloys rather than grown composites. Zinfar nodded, the iridescent plumage around his neck shifting in subtle patterns that conveyed his amusement to the other Valyrians. As expected, the intelligence reports classified humans as a Category 3 species, spacefaring but technologically underdeveloped. The human ship, designated the UES Concord, was indeed unimpressive by Valyrian standards. Boxy and utilitarian, with visible well blinds and external radiator panels, it looked like a relic from centuries past to the Valyrians, whose vessels were grown rather than built. "They're hailing us, Ambassador," announced communications specialist Rildax. "Open the channel." Zinfar smoothed his ceremonial robes, adopting the benevolent posture prescribed by the Alliance diplomatic protocols for first contact with lesser species. The view screen activated, revealing a human woman with dark skin and closely cropped hair. She wore a simple blue uniform with minimal ornamentation, further evidence of their primitive cultural development, Zinfar thought. "Greetings, representatives of the Valyrian Alliance. I am Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth Ship Concord. On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to our system." Zinfar performed the traditional greeting gesture, his six-fingered hands forming intricate patterns. "Greetings, Captain Chen. I am High Ambassador Zinfar of the Valyrian Alliance. We come in peace and friendship, seeking cultural exchange with your species." The diplomatic pleasantries continued as arranged, and within hours, a delegation of humans had transferred to the Eternal Harmony for the formal reception. The Valyrians had prepared a grand welcome in their central atrium, a vast chamber filled with exotic plants from 100 worlds and illuminated by floating light spheres. Captain Chen arrived with 5 other humans, all in similar uniforms. Ambassador Zinfar noted their cautious but curious demeanor as they gazed at the alien architecture and technology surrounding them. "Your vessel is truly remarkable, Ambassador," said Chen, accepting a crystal goblet of Valyrian nectar. "We've only achieved interstellar travel in the last century. Your civilization must be incredibly advanced." "Indeed," Zinfar replied magnanimously. "The Valyrian Alliance spans 300 star systems and encompasses 27 sentient species. Our technological development began over 6 millennia ago." Science Officer Velnera approached, her sensor wand discreetly scanning the humans. "If I may inquire, Captain Chen, our preliminary scans indicate your species has experienced multiple global conflicts in your recent history. How fascinating that you still manage to achieve unity in space travel despite such setbacks." Chen's expression remained diplomatic, but something flickered in her eyes. "Yes, humanity has had its share of wars. We've learned from them." The diplomatic meeting continued for several hours, with the Valyrians explaining their political structure, technological achievements, and cultural history. The humans listened attentively, asking occasional questions but sharing relatively little about themselves. As the gathering concluded, Zinfar addressed the human delegation. "We would be honored if you would join us tomorrow for a tour of our scientific facilities. We are particularly interested in establishing a research outpost in your system's outer belt." "We would welcome that, Ambassador," Chen replied. "Perhaps afterward, you might visit our colony on Mars. It's nothing as grand as your worlds, but we're proud of what we've built there." After the humans had departed, Zinfar convened with his senior staff in the private council chamber. "Your assessment?" he asked Velnera. The science officer's plumage shifted to the blue-green pattern that indicated analytical thought. They are exactly as our intelligence suggested, technologically primitive but adaptable. Their physiology is unremarkable, though they appear to have unusual endurance and physical resilience for bipedal omnivores. Their ship contains no weapons systems beyond point defense lasers, added Security Chief Kravmore. They pose no threat to Alliance interests. Zinfar nodded in satisfaction. Excellent. I believe we can proceed with our plans for this sector. The humans will make suitable junior partners in the Alliance, providing raw materials and labor in exchange for our protection and technological guidance. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Eternal Harmony sensor array. Ambassador, the tactical officer's voice was tense. We're detecting multiple unidentified vessels entering the system at high velocity. They're not responding to hails. Zinfar rushed back to the command deck, the other officers following close behind. The main display showed 12 unknown ships approaching from the system's outer reaches. Their design was unlike anything in the Alliance database, asymmetrical, with jagged protrusions and pulsing energy signatures. Analysis? Zinfar demanded. Velnera worked frantically at her console. Unknown configuration, but energy readings suggest significant weapons systems. Their trajectory will intercept our position in approximately 2 hours. Contact the humans, ordered Zinfar. Inform them we're detecting potentially hostile vessels. The communication was established quickly, but instead of Captain Chen, they were greeted by a different human. An older man with gray hair and a more elaborate uniform. Ambassador Zinfar, I'm Admiral William Donovan of the United Earth Defense Force. We're aware of the incoming vessels and have identified them as Ravagers, a hostile species we've encountered before. I strongly recommend you move your ship behind Mars for protection. Zinfar was momentarily confused. You're familiar with these entities. Your records made no mention of conflicts beyond your home system. There are many things we didn't share during our initial meeting, Ambassador. Standard protocol for first contact scenarios. The Admiral's expression was grim. The Ravagers are scavengers who target technological civilizations. They're drawn to energy signatures like your ships. Our vessel is equipped with defensive capabilities. Zinfar replied, somewhat offended at the implication that his people needed protection from primitives. With respect, Ambassador, your defenses won't be sufficient. The Ravagers use quantum phase weaponry that can penetrate standard shields. Please, move your ship to the coordinates we're transmitting. Before Zinfar could respond, another alert sounded. The tactical display updated, showing new vessels emerging from Earth's orbit, 3 massive ships unlike anything they'd seen from the humans before. What are those? Whispered Velnera. Admiral Donovan's expression remained steady. That, Ambassador, is the real United Earth Defense Force. The UEDS Thermopylae, Normandy, and Lake Gulf, our battleships. The Valyrian crew watched in stunned silence as the human warships accelerated toward the incoming threat. Unlike the diplomatic vessel they'd encountered earlier, these ships were clearly built for war. Their angular hulls were covered in weapon emplacements, and their engines left trails of blue-white energy as they moved with unexpected speed. I don't understand, Zinfar said slowly. Your civilization is pre-Alliance classification. You shouldn't have this level of military technology. As I said, Ambassador, there are many things we didn't share. The Admiral's tone was not unkind, but firm. Now please, move your ship to safety. We'll handle the Ravagers. As the Eternal Harmony retreated toward Mars, the Valyrians watched their sensors in disbelief. The human battleships were deploying formations and weapon systems that suggested centuries of military development, not the primitive civilization they had cataloged. How is this possible? Zinfar murmured, watching as the lead human ship, the Thermopylae, began to power up weapon systems that rivaled anything in the Alliance arsenal. I believe, Velnera said slowly, we may have severely misjudged the humans. The Ravager ships entered weapons range, and what followed would forever change how the Valyrian alliance viewed humanity. The human battleships moved with precision that spoke of extensive combat experience, coordinating their attacks with devastating effectiveness. The Thermopylae unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that cut through the lead Ravager vessel like it was made of paper. "Those are graviton lance arrays," Cravmore said in disbelief. "Alliance scientists have only theorized such weapons. How did the humans develop them?" As the battle unfolded, the truth became increasingly clear to the watching Valyrians. The humans had deliberately presented themselves as technologically inferior during first contact, a strategy no Alliance species would have considered. They had hidden their true military capabilities behind a facade of primitive diplomacy. And now, as the human battleships systematically destroyed the Ravager fleet with technology the Valyrians had believed was centuries beyond Earth's reach, Ambassador Zinthar realized their calculated error. They had judged humanity by their apparent technology, not by their potential. The galaxy, it seemed, had just become a much more complicated place. The battle that changed everything. From the observation deck of the Eternal Harmony, Ambassador Zinthar and his senior staff watched in stunned silence as the human battleships engaged the Ravager fleet. The tactical display showed energy signatures far beyond what should have been possible for a species that had achieved interstellar travel less than a century ago. "Their weapon systems are operating on principles we've only theorized," Science Officer Vel Nera said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The focused graviton beams, the phase-shifted shields, the reaction times of their targeting systems. This is not Category 3 technology." Security Chief Cravmore's plumage had shifted to the deep crimson of alarm. "The human vessels are executing complex battle maneuvers that suggest extensive combat experience. Look at how they're systematically isolating the Ravager command ships." The largest human battleship, the Thermopylae, suddenly accelerated at a rate that seemed physically impossible, positioning itself between a group of Ravager vessels and the retreating Valyrian ship. Its shields flared as it absorbed enemy fire that would have struck the Eternal Harmony. The communication system activated, and Admiral Donovan appeared on screen again. His uniform was now adorned with combat interfaces, and behind him, the human bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency. "Ambassador, we've detected 3 Ravager vessels breaking formation and heading toward your position. The Thermopylae will provide cover, but we need to get your people to safety. Prepare to receive a boarding party." Before Zinthar could object, the display showed a small human craft detaching from the Thermopylae and accelerating toward the Eternal Harmony. Minutes later, 6 humans in armored combat suits entered the Valyrian command deck. Unlike the diplomatic personnel they'd met earlier, these humans moved with the precision of trained warriors. Commander Sarah Reeves, Special Operations, announced their leader, her helmet retracting to reveal a face marked with old combat scars. "We're here to establish defensive positions. The Ravagers will attempt to board your vessel." "Board?" Zinthar's confusion was evident in his wildly fluctuating plumage. "Why would they target our diplomatic vessel when your warships present a greater threat?" Commander Reeves was already directing her team to key positions around the ship. "Because the Ravagers aren't just after technology, Ambassador. They harvest sentient life forms. Your crew would be a valuable prize for them." This revelation sent ripples of fear through the Valyrian crew. Their species had never faced such existential threats, protected as they were by the Alliance's collective security. "We don't have weapons," protested Cravmore. "This is a diplomatic vessel." One of the human soldiers tossed him a compact device. "Portable shield generator. Stay behind it if you can't fight." The next hour passed in tense preparation as the human team established defensive positions throughout the Valyrian ship. Through it all, Commander Reeves maintained communication with both the human fleet and the Valyrian crew, coordinating their survival strategy with remarkable clarity. Outside, the battle had intensified. The tactical display showed the human battleships executing a complex pattern that had divided the Ravager fleet into isolated segments. The Thermopylae had taken damage, But its weapons systems continued to function at full capacity, systematically destroying any Ravager vessels that approached the Valyrian position. "You've encountered these Ravagers before," Zinthar said to Commander Reeves as they monitored the battle. "Yet there was no mention of them in your historical records that you shared with us." Reeves checked her tactical display before answering. "Humanity learned early on that revealing the full extent of our capabilities or challenges to unknown alien species wasn't prudent. We've been fighting various threats for decades while presenting ourselves as relatively harmless to potential allies." "A deception," Cravmore said, his tone accusatory. "A precaution," Reeves corrected. "Humanity hasn't always had positive experiences with technologically advanced species. We've learned to be cautious." The ship suddenly shuddered, and warning signals flashed across the Valyrian systems. "Boarding pods detected," announced a Valyrian officer, panic evident in his voice. 3 impact points on the lower decks." Commander Reeves immediately activated her tactical network. "Teams Bravo and Charlie, converge on breach points. Alpha Team, secure the command deck and senior staff. Standard containment protocols." The Valyrians watched in amazement as the human soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, their armored suits enhancing their already impressive physical capabilities. When the first Ravagers reached the upper decks, nightmarish creatures with multiple limbs and biomechanical implants, the humans engaged them without hesitation. The battle within the ship was as shocking to the Valyrians as the space combat outside. The humans fought with a combination of advanced technology and brutal hand-to-hand combat skills that spoke of evolutionary development as predators. Commander Reeves herself eliminated 3 Ravagers that breached the command deck, her movements so fast they blurred even to Valyrian perception. "How are you doing this?" Velnera asked as Reeves returned from securing a corridor, her armor splattered with Ravager fluids. "Your species should not have these capabilities." Reeves checked her weapon before responding. "Humanity evolved on a death world. Officer Velnera, Earth's gravity is 1.3 times what you're adapted to. Our atmosphere contains high oxygen levels that support intense physical activity. Our evolutionary path included surviving alongside apex predators and fighting constant territorial wars. We're built for this." Through the viewport, they watched as the Thermopylae executed a maneuver that should have torn apart a vessel of its size, positioning itself to deliver a devastating blow to the largest Ravager ship. The human battleship's main weapon, a spinal-mounted graviton lance, fired, the energy beam cutting through the enemy vessel from bow to stern. "Admiral Donovan reports the Ravager command ship has been destroyed," Reeves announced. "The remaining vessels are beginning to disengage. Standard Ravager protocol when they lose central coordination." As the immediate threat subsided, Ambassador Zinthar found himself reevaluating everything he thought he knew about humans. This species, which the Alliance had classified as technologically underdeveloped, had just demonstrated military capabilities that rivaled or exceeded their own. The next day, as repair crews from both species worked to secure the damaged Eternal Harmony, Zinthar requested a formal meeting with the human leadership aboard their flagship. The Thermopylae's interior was a revelation, not the utilitarian design they had expected, but a masterful integration of advanced technology and practical human ergonomics. The ship contained extensive research facilities alongside its weapons systems, and the crew operated with a discipline that impressed even the Valyrians. In the ship's conference room, Admiral Donovan met with the Valyrian delegation. The walls displayed tactical data from the battle, showing how thoroughly the humans had analyzed and counteracted the Ravager threat. "I owe you an apology, Admiral," Zinthar began, his plumage arranged in the formal pattern of diplomatic humility. "We severely misjudged your species." Donovan nodded, his expression neutral. "A common mistake, Ambassador, one that has served us well in the past. But why conceal your true capabilities? The Alliance could have offered technological exchange, mutual defense pacts." "History," Donovan said simply. "Humanity's first encounters with other intelligent species weren't all peaceful. We learn to approach new civilizations cautiously, revealing our strengths only when necessary. He gestured to the tactical displays. The Ravagers are just one of several hostile species we've encountered. Each taught us valuable lessons. Science Officer Velnera, who had been examining data on human weapons technology with poorly concealed fascination, turned to the Admiral. Your advancements in graviton manipulation and phase shield technology are remarkable. They follow theoretical principles our scientists have only recently begun to explore. Necessity, replied the human admiral. Earth was nearly destroyed during our first contact with the Krex Imperium a century ago. We survived by adapting rapidly, developing technologies that our enemies didn't expect from a primitive species. This revelation startled the Valyrians. The Krex Imperium was known to the Alliance as a distant power beyond their borders, one they had carefully avoided confronting. You fought the Krex and survived? Cravmore asked incredulously. The Alliance has considered them untouchable. We didn't just survive, Donovan said quietly. We pushed them back beyond the Perseus Arm. They don't venture near human space anymore. The implications of this statement hung in the air. A species that the mighty Valyrian Alliance feared had apparently been defeated by these humans who, until yesterday, had been classified as a minor civilization of limited significance. I believe, Zinfar said carefully, that the Alliance's assessment of humanity requires immediate revision. And perhaps, Admiral, it is time for a more honest dialogue between our peoples. Donovan smiled for the first time since they'd met. I agree, Ambassador. But understand this. Humanity's caution isn't just tactical, it's philosophical. We've learned that in this galaxy, respect isn't freely given. Sometimes it must be earned through demonstration of strength. As the Valyrian delegation prepared to depart, they watched a new fleet of human ships arrive from Earth, not just warships but vessels of all types, from scientific explorers to massive colony ships. Humanity, it seemed, was expanding into the galaxy with purpose and preparation. They concealed their true nature not out of deception, Velnera observed as their shuttle returned to the repaired Eternal Harmony, but out of wisdom. Ambassador Zinfar nodded, watching the impressive human fleet through the viewport. A lesson for the Alliance, perhaps. We have become complacent in our technological superiority, categorizing species by their apparent advancement rather than their potential. What will you tell the Alliance Council? Asked Cravmore. Zinfar's plumage shifted to the complex pattern that indicated deep contemplation. The truth, that we have encountered a species unlike any in our records, one that survived trials we cannot imagine and emerged stronger for it, one that appears less advanced than they are by strategic choice, not limitation. He turned from the viewport to face his staff, his posture conveying the seriousness of his next words. And I will tell them that in humanity, the Alliance has not found a junior partner to guide and protect, but an equal whose friendship we should value and whose strength we would be wise to respect. As the Eternal Harmony prepared for its journey back to Alliance space, the humans sent one final message, an invitation to formal diplomatic talks between equals. Attached were historical records they had previously withheld, chronicles of humanity's struggles and triumphs among the stars. The galaxy, as the Valyrians had known it, would never be the same again.